There is one truth that I learned from the brilliant David Paul. It is what he calls the Rule 1. Now, once I mastered that rule, it changed how I see the market completely. He said the good trade is always the hard trade. This is not because the trade is difficult on an intellectual level or the analysis is very complex, as a lot of things. No, it's simply very difficult to emotionally process that type of trade. And that's what makes it the good trade. He also said that trades that look too good, those trades that are so obvious, they are often traps, and we all know that. Buying at a support level is hard and selling at a resistance level is tough. Why? Because trades that tend to be too obvious, that line right there, that is the punchline. That's what changed everything and how I totally look at these markets now. I'm not even bothered anymore, even if I take a loss. Now think about it. Every one of us, we want those easy trades, right? We want deep down, we want those, those guaranteed outcomes, but the market doesn't work like that. It simply does not work like that. What the market does, what the market feeds on is that desire to always be right, that desire that we have as traders to always want to take profit from the market. That's what makes us, jump into all of the trades, and it turns that certainty, like when we look at a trade, we're like, nah, this is 100% trade. You go all in on one single setup. It turns that desire to be correct all the time into a lesson that will always cost you your account. Right now, this week, to be honest, it was more of a zero trade week for me because exams completely took over the charts. And when I did have a chance to look at NASDAQ, I gave a signal in a circle for the NASDAQ. And let's just say that it wasn't a good trade. It was, I tried to peep at the market and pick 1 or 2 pips in the market. It moved up and gave us like 100 pips before it completely tanked down to our stop loss. And speaking of setups, we had an entire week that I had filled with setups that I was sharing in the free signal group right over there. And for the NASDAQ, I really wanted to see it breaking out off the highs and, or dropping back down to this trend line, which brings us to a weekly analysis. But before we dive into all of that good stuff, if you're new to the channel, welcome. We trade the NASDAQ over here. If you're returning, welcome back. You already know what's up. Don't forget to hit that like button, turn your post notifications, and subscribe to the channel. Now, if you look on my NASDAQ right over here, we have a trend line that is very obvious. You can see the trend line. I can see the trend line. Everyone who's trading the NASDAQ can totally see this trend line. Now, what did we just talk about? Obvious trades. So how are we going to deal with this situation that we're seeing on the NASDAQ right now? David Paul also said that, when you want to place a trade, that place where you want to put your stop loss, right? Like when you want to, let's say you want to enter this trade right at this level and you want to put your stop loss somewhere here. That's exactly where it should be your entry point. And I'll explain why. Now, if we drop on the NASDAQ onto, let's say, the 4 hour, maybe we can also see the gap that we have right here on the 4 hour time frame. Now, during the week, because of the certain wars and rumors of war that we are hearing all over the world, we know what's happening in the market. It's not stable at all right now. In the middle of the week, this was Thursday, when the market closed. On Friday, it did open with a gap right here. Remember what I always say. I say that the market should normally come back to close these type of gaps and then move up to the top. And that's exactly why I didn't want to actually go in for a buy on the NASDAQ on Friday, right? I didn't want to go in for a buy, even though I did have some time, to look at the charts. I didn't want to enter a buy here. It did move. I sent this in the free signal group when the market was somewhere around this level. And then the market, it did move a few pips and eventually dropped back down. Now, obviously, I'm still biased to the market coming to close this little gap before I can start looking for buying opportunities right now. Remember this level where we are at, this trend line. I said that everyone is looking at it. Now, you want to be wise if you're ever going to trade this level, because notice it is a support level, right? Or was the previous resistance level that the market broke out of and turned into support. But look at how many times this market has touched this support level. And further worse, it actually is at the trend line, right? Now, a lot of traders are really looking at this setup. This here is where I like to put my little dollar sign if I can find it right here. Right. I normally want to put that dollar sign there because this is too obvious, right? Normally the market would want to come and sweep out the stop losses of a lot of people that would be here. Right now, I'm not saying that this is exactly what the market should do. The market will eventually do what it wants to do, but on a normal day, there are a lot of orders that will be placed here. A lot of people are going to buy and put their stop losses right below this level. And if that is the case, this is going to act as a magnet and draw the market down, close the gap first, and then draw it down to the stop losses before it eventually starts moving up to the top. Now, for that reason, this level here, I like to put a question mark at that level because I don't sell on an uptrend. Right? The market, the NASDAQ market is on an uptrend. So you would say, why don't you just sell and, catch the liquidity or, just sell this market? If you sell here, where are you going to put your stop loss? You can't sell and put your stop loss at a random level here. You can't put, a stop loss at any level, right? So I don't sell on an uptrend, right? So that's exactly why I wouldn't consider this level as a good spot. Now, if that's said and done, I have to now look for a new support level. And if we go into the free group, let me just check this out. This is the inner circle, right? If we go into the free group right over here, I think I sent it, right? Yes, I sent it right over here. This was a 4-hour time frame that I now have a second point of interest. Those that follow that strategy of ours, that when the market drops to the gap, we want to use that as a point of interest and buy the market from the gap and ride it up to the top. In this case, because of the reason that I've just explained that's right here, I now want to look for a second point of interest because this one is too weak, right? If you ever buy or ever try and trade this level, you don't want to risk a lot because the market might just want to sweep out liquidity there and go up to the top. Now, the second level obviously will now be the second resistance area that we have here. Now, that's very simple. If NASDAQ breaks out of this support area or it sweeps that, all of those stop losses there, it will want to come and find a place where it's going to rest. It's going to find a place to breathe, stop there and move up to the top if it wants to eventually move up to the top, right? So that's the spot that I'll be looking at as my second point of interest. Something that's not so obvious to a lot of people. You know why that is not obvious? Think about it. If the market breaks out like this, and then let's just assume it has gone into this area here. And then we go on to the daily time frame and look at it like this. All those people that are trading this thing are going to say the market has broken out of the trend line. The sellers have started to step into the market and then they want to sell this market here. That's what will be obvious to people. And then it will do the opposite. Remember that rule that we're talking about. So overall, I do expect NASDAQ to eventually ride up and sweep out all of these highs and give us new highs on the NASDAQ. When we don't know that, right? So we'll just act as the market also acts. But that's exactly what I'll be looking at on the NASDAQ. That's the reason why I really don't like to buy this area here. It would have been a good spot to buy, but because of the many reasons that I've just mentioned, or it could just sweep out all of these levels and try and buy off of this little support here. So we still have to consider all of those things. We can also drop onto the lower time frames and see what levels it might use as support, right? So in this case, you really have to know all of your horizontal support levels and utilize them to your advantage nicely, right? So it can actually just sweep out and come and rest on the hourly time frame somewhere here, or it will totally sweep all of them out and go on to our 4-hour time frame. But either way, I'll be sending analysis updates in the free group, so you stay tuned for that. Let's go on to US30. Pretty much one and the same thing. It does have a little gap right here, US30, but let's see if US30 has that liquidity level that I'm also looking at, right? I don't think it does have it on US30, but the obvious trend line, remember we had this analysis drawn on US30, right? I used this swing point and that one, then we cloned the next swing point, we had a clone of it, right? Now US30 is in our area. It has dropped into our area of value, right? The only tricky thing about it is we now have to wait for rejection to see if it has confirmed or if it has rejected off of this level. And in this case, this is a daily time frame, right? So it's not something that you'd see with just one trend line. Remember, to get this setup, we had to wait the whole week. We analyzed this on the weekly analysis when the market was around about this level. It dropped on, this was Friday, right? It opened on Monday with just this little movement. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This was the whole movement for US30. That's crazy, right? Imagine those people that are swing traders, they have to wait for days for setups to be completed, right? So on US30, if we drop onto the lower time frames, it is in our area of value, but you can clearly see that we do have a little gap here, right? So we would expect the market to come and close the little gap that it has come back and close the little gap, and then after that we would want to now look for opportunities to buy it. And obviously, you know, our support levels, right? We can clearly see this week that we had here, this could also act as a support level. And then maybe you want to take the whole candlestick to use an area. You want to consider what is the area that you now use as your area of value, right? So we have the first one here at a trend line. We see good rejection there. We'll dive into the trade. This is not complicated at all. Let's see what is happening on gold, right? I never got an opportunity to trade gold because, like I said, the market, I was not on the charts for the entire week, right? Due to exams and stuff, but the market wasn't totally good for all of those people that were trading because the setups were just not it, right? Remember we said that gold, we are looking for gold to reject off of this level. I did say in our previous weekly analysis that you don't want to actually buy gold before it breaks out of this level, right? And if it broke and closed out of this level, then we would have looked for a pullback, right, into this area and then buy off of it. But you can clearly see that it never broke and closed outside of it. This was the breakout that we had, and then it was a week, right? It rejected, and then it formed this candle. It tried to break out, and then it came back, it closed inside as a bearish candlestick. What does that tell you? We're at a resistance area. We have a whole bearish momentum candlestick. That's clearly telling you that the sellers have stepped into this market, and you have to just relax if you're a buyer or if you're going long on gold. You have to relax till you see another good confirmation there. That's why we never had a trade also on gold. So like I'm saying, it still remains one and the same thing. I want to expect gold to come. If it now comes back again, the very same thing that I was saying, this would be an obvious trade for a lot of retail traders. If it comes back to this level, they want to sell it again because they'll be like, it has gotten to a resistance, we'll sell. And then in that case, they'll break out and take out all of their stop losses. And then they'll sell again at this level, and then it will break out again and then wipe them out, right? So you want to be careful for that. Now on gold, we do have, I think we had a little trend line. I think now it makes sense to draw a little trend line on gold. As you can see, like this, and just the usual basic strategy here. You want it to come to a good point of interest that is supported by a trend line. If it comes into that area, then you probably want to look for a good nice old buying position on gold, ride it up to the top. Well, this type of setup like this that's on a daily time frame is not really realistic for day traders, right? To say that you're now having, let's say, the entry point here and then the take profit, that it will take days, if not weeks, for gold to then move from here then to that level, unless crazy news happens in the market where we get this type of movement, right? This was 1, 2, 3 days where we had this type of movement, but you can see the normal days on gold, right, like this. So you want to drop onto the lower time frames to obviously look for a better setups, but this is the overall setup of what I'm looking at on gold. NASDAQ and US30 doesn't seem complicated as usual. The markets are pretty solid. If the rumors of war and all of the things that are happening in the world just tone down a little bit, we'll have really good trades. And I'm looking forward to an absolutely good week because I do have 4 more exams, and then I will be totally free. Now that's about it, guys. Nothing complicated over here. If you found the breakdown helpful and you did enjoy the video, don't forget to hit that like button, turn your post notifications, and subscribe to the channel. You feel me with that? It's been Tino, and I'll see you in the next lit video. Love you guys.